I know that 2025 was technically supposed to be the year in which we all finish our TBR, but there are just too many good books coming out this year for me to be actually able to do that. So today I'm going to tell you about all the books I'm excited for that are coming out in 2025 so that you can add them to your TBR as well. Let's go! Hi, hello, and welcome back! I hope you're doing amazing. I know I am, because I am so excited for these books. I say we just jump in because there's actually a lot of books I'm very excited for because some of my favorite authors are bringing out new books, some of my series that I love are being continued, some of my guilty pleasure books are bringing out a new part, so I'm excited and we're gonna jump straight in to all the books that are coming out in 2025. Now, I don't have these in a particular order. The only order we're following here is romance versus fantasy. Alright, that's it. Please, in the comments down below, let me know which books you are excited for this year coming up because I'm always happy to add more books to my release radar, okay? I can always put in more pre-orders. It's gonna be fun. So let's start out with my romance books that I'm super excited for in the next year. Starting out with, of course, Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. The publication date for this one is February 4th, so we don't have to wait that much longer. Just a little under a month, actually, and I'm so excited for this. We have a competition, kind of, like a college romance, between a professional diver and a professional swimmer. Excuse me. We all know that the book was originally supposed to be called Wet with an H. That's saying something. I'm not sure. Her recent book, Not in Love, I was not actually in love with that one because it was just a little too much on the spicy side and a little too little on the romancy side. So I'm hoping that this is more up my alley, even though I think it's supposed to be even more spicy. We don't know. But I'm here to figure it out, and I'm definitely gonna tell you once I know. Now, a book that I think is on my pre-order radar, but maybe not on yours, and we should change that, is First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. If you're thinking, who is that person? What does this book have to do with anything? This person also wrote the Love Light Farm series, which is one of my favorite romance series. They are just such cute small-town romances, and I have very high hopes for this one. It's supposed to be like inspired by Sleepless in Seattle, which I know is a movie I have not seen. I am a horrible person. It's a rom-com classic, but I haven't seen it. We have like a hopeless romantic kind of situation and then something going on with a radio show. I am hyped for this one. This comes out on February 13th. Honestly, most of the romance books are due earlier this year because actually, like, most of the publication dates for romance books aren't actually announced that much in advance. So I'm very glad that we're getting this in February and I cannot wait. Literally can't wait for this. Super excited. Next one is a little bit darker, but also just as fun. Scythe and Sparrow. Now, if you're confused and you're like, what? This is the third book of the Butcher and Blackbird series. And that's why I'm hyped. In the first one, we had two serial unalivers, like, competing, which was the most fun I've ever had. The second one, we had, like, an assassin and a serial unaliver, and in this one, we have a motorcyclist who kind of has a deadly side hustle, if you know what I mean, and we have a doctor. Okay, he's a good guy. He's a doctor, he does good things, and she's just like a little morally dark gray. Like very dark gray. As far as I understood the blurb, her side hustle goes a little wrong, and she ends up hurt, and he ends up taking care of her. Because he's a doctor! You get it? Are you as hyped as me? Because honestly, the forced proximity in this, I can smell it. It's fuming my brain with all the magic I need. And that's what matters most. I am here for this, and I will be reading this as soon as it comes out. But let's move on to the next romance book, which is, of course, Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. This is the fourth book in the Done and Dusted whole series, right? I'm not sure what the series is called. First book, Done and Dusted, Swift and Saddled, Lost and Lassoed, and then the fourth one, Wild and Wrangled, which I'm super excited for. Wild and Wrangled will be coming out on April 15th, so it's still a little while in the future, but also not that far. Like, I can almost smell it. I will be getting this book into my hands hopefully very, very soon. I am super, super excited. The rest of the books were just like comforting, heartfelt, amazing, lovely. I don't know any more positive adjectives that I could use and throw in here, but just like imagine all those words around this book and be excited for it as well. Just share my excitement, please, because I cannot contain it all. The only thing I know about this book is that it's gonna be a second chance romance and small town and cowboys. I'm sorry. How could you not be excited for this? The next book we're all gonna be very, very excited for is the third book in the Lakefront Billionaire series by Lauren Asher, and it's gonna be called Love Arranged. Excuse me? We don't know much about this book, other than the fact that it comes out on May 25th. We're probably gonna find out more in the future, but at this point, a Love Arranged sounds like it's gonna be an arranged marriage trope, right? I don't know enough about the books that I've read in the past to guess who this is about. If you know, tell me down below. I'm gonna be excited. Also, I'm horrible with names, so I probably forgot all of them. Literally all of them. But I am very excited. I remember loving Love Redesigned and Love Unwritten, so I am hyped for this one. Honestly, this series is my favorite series of Lauren Asher so far, and I am very, very excited to finally have this book in my hands and be like, yes, yes, this is it. This will be it. This is amazing. I can tell you right now, at this point in time, I'm gonna love this. Now, the only thing that has to happen is that I actually love this book. But I will. I will. Now let's move on to a series that I've enjoyed for the past years, and will probably also enjoy. This is the 5th book by Liz Tomford. You know, like Mile High and The Right Move. Those books, they were so fun, and Rewinded Back is gonna be the next book in that series. It's gonna come out on May 25th, and I am again, super excited. We don't know who it is about. We don't know. There is no blurb yet to this point, but in the future there probably will be, and it's gonna be cool and exciting. I know that I've enjoyed every single other book by her. Every single other book in this series was so much fun. These are like sports romances, but also like kind of billionaire romances with like very fun and lovable characters, and especially with female characters that actually had good personalities, and I was very here for it. Like, for each of those books, I was here. I was sat and I was happy. So I am very, very excited for the next book in this series to come around, because I feel like I've been waiting for long enough. It's not been that long since the 4th book came out, but at the same time, I'm like ready for the next one. The next book is by Hannah Bonham Carter. This is Out of the Woods. It's about to come out on January 30th. We're getting this book this month, and I am here for it. I'm ready for it. I am waiting. I've read every single other book by her, and Out on a Limb was like one of my favorite books last year. It was such a good one, such a cozy read, such a comforting book, and I am so ready to read the next book by her. I've liked her other books, not as much as I have loved Out on the Limb, but they were very, very enjoyable, and I'm hoping that I'm liking this one as well. This one is not really like the typical romancy story. It's about a married couple who have been together, like they were high school sweethearts, and she has to plan this huge event, and she doesn't know how to do it, but she's like, okay, I need to do this alone, but then she kind of fails. It doesn't really work out the way, and her husband swoops in to save the day and make her feel more comfortable. And I think this is just going to be a cozy, comfortable, heartwarming book that is hopefully pretty much drama-free, although I have heard that it focuses a little bit on grief, so if you are struggling with grief right now, maybe read the book sometime else when you're feeling a little bit better. I think that's something that I should probably mention about the book. But I am super, super excited for it. The next book, which is probably one that I am most excited for, and I don't know how, because honestly, I've not been the biggest fan of this series, alright? But King of Envy is coming out on March 25th this year, and I cannot wait, because it has my favorite thing ever. Now this one, if you missed it, this next book is going to be about Vuk Markovich. I think that's how it's pronounced. I'm not a pro, alright? But this is the guy who doesn't speak. And I am a sucker for romance books where the guy does not speak but he speaks to her. It's so much better when somebody speaks for you and no one else. Excuse me? I'm gonna be dead and buried somewhere in a grave. This is again like a kind of dark romance-y billionaire romance. Like all of Ana Huang's books, they're kind of on the brink of being like very morally gray. Like sometimes I forget that Ana Huang writes dark romance. Like with the Twisted series, right? You read it and you're not sure if it's dark romance, and then when you get to the last book and Christian literally unalives somebody, and you're just like, ah, and then you're realizing, oh, right. Dark romance. That's why it's okay to unalive people. Makes sense. Anyway, back to the topic. Very excited for this book, but now let's move on. Because the next one is honestly also one that I'm extremely excited for. There are some really good releases this year. This one being Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I mean, you and I both can see that this book is called Wild Side, not Wild Love, but sure. Let's just go with what past Vivian said. Who allowed all these books to come out in the span of like 3 months? Who was it? Who signed off on this petition? I don't know. But anyway, this book is coming out on March 4th of this year. It's the 3rd book in that series. Oh my gosh. This series is well known to be just a series of single dad romances. Small town single dad. Like not cowboy, but small town and single dad. We are in this one following actually a single aunt and a guy who's also in the single dad bowling club that we know, right? And those two, as far as I understood the blurb on the back of the book, they're going into like a marriage of convenience to save this like nephew. My brain is not working anymore and it's fine. I'm fine. Like it's gonna be okay. But at the same time, please save me and give me this book now. I need it desperately. I'm not ready for this book to come out, by the way. I'm not. The next one is Beg, Borrow, Steal by Sarah Adams. Sarah Adams has not been on my radar for a long while because I've never picked up the cheat sheet when it was like popular. But I did love When in Rome and I did love the 2nd book in that series. And I'm currently also reading one of her other books. So this one I am really excited for. I'm here for it. I really am here for it. It comes out tomorrow for me, today for you, and I'm ready. I'm ready, I'm here, I'm ready to be blown away by it. It's about 2 second grade teachers who are like kind of enemies. The only thing I'm scared about is the secret identity trope because I don't really love this. I don't know how it comes in. Like I'm imagining them like writing maybe emails or like her having a secret admirer and it's him. All I know is that he's this kind of like golden retriever guy who actually wants to be a romance author, and she's like kind of a black cat person, but at the same time there's probably like some kind of secret identity that's gonna cause issues. I already know it's gonna cause issues, but I'm putting myself through the pain because this book will probably be worth the pain. Let's be honest, it probably will. That's why I'm excited for it. And now we're moving on to the last romance book of the bunch, which is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. Emily Henry is coming out with a new book this year, like she's been coming out with new books every single year in the past. This one's bound to come out on April 24th, so not that long till we have it in our hands. As far as I know, this is about 2 writers competing in a writing competition, which sounds a lot like The Beach Read, which I really adored. So I love that Emily Henry writes books about the people she knows best, and those are authors. I think that's really cool. And also, like, the banter in her books is also just, like, so casual and so natural, and every time she writes a romance, it's really good. Like, it's not always my favorite thing, but it's really good, and it makes me happy, and it's just overall a fun experience. So I'm really excited to read this new book by hers. Again, as always, like, her books are solid. They're always solid and good. Now we are in the category for the fantasy books. There are not a lot. There's just 5 fantasy books that I'm really here for this year. Mostly because I'm a little behind on the fantasy books and so I don't quite know what's new. But for these ones, I am excited. They are mostly sequels, let's be honest. Most of them are. Let's just jump into them. The first one is gonna be The Rebel Witch by Kirsten Ciccarelli. I think it's gonna be that. I'm just gonna try my best. I'm trying my best, and if it's wrong, it's wrong. But this one is the 2nd book in the series of The Crimson Moth or The Heartless Hunter, depending on where you are in the world, because the US has The Heartless Hunter, we have The Crimson Moth, and it's the same, book, but different titles. I don't understand why. But then again, The Rebel Witch is going to be the second book in that series. I think it's a completed duology after that, and I'm here for it. Now, the first book was not my favorite book, but it was a fun book, and I'm hoping and looking forward to seeing where it leads. There was like a huge plot twist at the end of the first book that had me gasping and had me reeling for my life, so I am ready and in need of this book because, let's be honest, I don't like plot twists and cliffhangers that keep me on my toes for too long. And this has been keeping me for like over a year. Not really, because the book is not that old, but half a year. This one is about to come out on February 27th, so last day of February, if I'm not mistaken. The book is coming out, and I'm excited for it. Another book I'm excited for is Oathbound by Tracy Deonn. I know that in saying this, I am also admitting to the fact that I have in fact not read the second book in that series, which is Bloodmark, but I have read Legendborn, and that was amazing. So I'm hoping to read all 3 books this year, like to finish that series, to tie a nice bow around it, and to just be done with it and say I've read the series and it was great. That's what I'm looking forward to finishing off a lot of the series that I started this year. But I know that a lot of people have been anxiously awaiting this book, and so I'm just here with all of you waiting for it to appear and to make us all happy and giddy, and overall just make our days. It is also about to come out on March 4th, so the wait is almost over, people. Now, this is the only fantasy book that is not a sequel, but it is by an author that I absolutely adored last year, because this is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillick. Rachel Gillick, if you are not familiar with, wrote One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, which we kind of all loved last year and were some of my favorites. So I'm very excited to see another book by her. This one is also gonna be like a dark gothic fantasy that was described to me as gargoyles, gods, and girls in armor. You don't need more. You really, really don't need more. I love gargoyles, but at the same time, I really love the idea of putting like another gothic tale on, and that's really good, and the gargoyles really help with setting the gothic mood. Let's be honest, that's what they do, that's what they're made for. They weren't originally, but that's what they do now. Can we also just quickly, really quickly, talk about this beautiful, stunning cover of this book? It's so beautiful. Also gonna be a romantasy, so of course I'm here. I'm getting some romance in it. I would read this book even if there was no romance in it, but at the same time, I'm very glad that we have some. I don't need much, just a little sprinkle in there to keep my heart pumping. That's all I need. The next book I'm very excited for is Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett. This one, again, I have not read the second book. I don't have words to describe why I have not read the second book, because I own it somewhere. But at the same time, I'm super ready for the third book to come out. Just like now. Please, give me it. Give me. My little grabby hands want the book. They can't have it yet because it's not out yet, but they want it. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies was just such a cute, magical, mystical tale that was not too focused on the romance, but had some sprinkled in. And I love Emily Wilde is like kind of more of an academic fantasy heroine instead of like a battling and sword swinging one. I really like that she like prefers to use her wits and her brain instead of just brute force and magic. I love this. I love this. But I still have to read the second book. But I promise you, I will. That's a big promise to make as like the biggest mood reader on the planet. But I promise you I will do my best. And now for the 2 last books in here that don't have titles yet. They don't have titles yet because they're a little further out, but I'm very hyped. So I have the original first books here to like get you going in some direction. First one is the second book in the City of Phantom series. This one, The Dagger and the Flame. You know that I loved this book last year. It was so much fun. It had me gasping and it had me begging for the second book a lot faster than it's gonna be here. This was honestly one of my favorite books of last year, and the sequel is coming out this year. Granted, I have to wait until September 11th until it's here and in my hands, but at the same time, I am just super, super ready and super, super hyped for it. So I don't know what you mean, but I will be waiting. I will be getting this book on the day it comes out. If I have to sell my soul for it, I will. I think that sums it up pretty well. And then the second book that has not even have a title yet, or it's not been revealed yet, is the second book in the Fae and Alchemy series, otherwise known as the second book in the Quicksilver series, which is about to come out October 16th of this year. Now, it's a long while till October, but it's also gonna be like, this is a thick fantasy book. It takes time to write some magic, and this is gonna be magic. I'm ready to wait. However, I'm very, very excited for it, and I know that a lot of people out there are also like really, really here for it. So what do we know? Like, I'm ready to dive into this book. And with that, we're done, people. We are done. Those are the books I am super excited for next year. There's probably more out there that I'm excited for that I just forgot to put in the video. There's probably more books that I'm gonna find out through the year that I'm excited for coming out, but these are the ones for now. So let me know if you're also excited for any of the books I just mentioned. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe if you don't already, and I will see you for the next one. Bye everybody, and have an amazing day. The weirdest thing is that I just talked about so many books, and I know that I definitely forgot like 7, because there's always new books coming out. Like, what will my TBR look like? I don't have the time for this. Also, my wallet will not be happy with me. Lucky for us, pre-orders don't count towards book buying then. That's just the rules. Bye everyone!